at the drop of a device. However, going live has been safe or even scalable for marketers. We're here today to talk about what we can learn from early mentioned several brands. We asked the head of new business ventures for a very big brand holding company indeed, Farah Besner of Mondelez International, who has created programs for several of its top brands, including Trident, Philadelphia Cream Cheese, Cool Whip, and Maxwell House Coffee. Please welcome Farah and Ernal.
Hi, everyone. Some switching going on. So thanks for staying till the end of the day today. We have a great panel here. As he mentioned, my name is Farah. I work at Mondelez. For those who don't know, Mondelez is your favorite Nabisco products and Cadbury products. And it's really actually exciting to be here today to talk about live streaming. It's funny, we were just chatting backstage that even though live streaming feels like something that's, really brand new, it's, the idea of live's been around for a long time. So I think what's interesting is just how it has evolved and how brands are jumping in. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves and we'll get into discussion.
Hi, I'm April Groman. I am the Senior Manager of Social Marketing for The Honest Company. For anybody who doesn't know, we were founded in 2012 by Jessica Alba. We're a CG company focused on creating safe and effective products across a range of categories: cleaning, personal care, health and wellness, and baby, most specifically diapers and wipes. And so I'm grateful. I've been at the company for 5 years now, started just before launch in 2012. And bringing it home, we did 85 Facebook live streams in 2016. And that was across two brands, Honest and Honest Beauty. So my video today is just an example of some of the work that we did over the last 6 months.
This is a Facebook Live, and anything can happen. So here we go. I am here at Target, one of my favorite places in the entire world. Do you see what's happening? These heart prints are exclusive for Target only. So only at Target you can get this variety and in these awesome boxes.
This lady needs no introduction.
Hi Facebook Live, today was amazing. Go get this stuff.
Hi everyone, this is Christopher Gavigan. We just celebrated our 5th birthday, and I'm here to surprise and share our 5th birthday with one member. Hi, Colette!
Wow, good morning. You gotta take care of the little one.
I love that.
Maxwell Project is a nonprofit organization that serves kids and families fighting childhood cancers. And we're so honored to be here with Honest for our 3rd campaign with Honest Loves Max. We're gonna break a record this year. It's gonna be huge.
Who inspires you? Share with us. We're trying to raise $50,000, and for every post using that hashtag, we're gonna donate $1.
Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth from ElizabethMXO.com, and we are here at the Honest headquarters to do another DIY for you. Hi Honest friends.
Hi Honest friends.
I'm Sarah, I work here at Honest, and this is my daughter Sydney.
My name is Ben, and I'm joined with 2 very special guests. Benjamin is 10, Aubrey is 9.
And I actually have a really special guest with me, my daughter. What's your name?
Nima.
Nima.
Hi Facebook, I'm Caitlin, and this is my number 1 girl, Alice.
Hi everyone, welcome to the 2016 Love Today for a Better Tomorrow debate. Jack, what is your favorite animal? Penguin.
Can you say bye-bye? Oh! Can you say bye-bye over there? Say bye-bye.
Hi. Hi. It's hard to follow up Jessica Alba, so I'm going to try my best. My name is Victor Lee. I'm the Senior Vice President of Digital Marketing for Hasbro. We, if you're not familiar with Hasbro, we are one of the world leaders in story, entertainment, and play experience for families and kids. So most of us probably grew up on My Little Pony, Little Pet Shop, Monopoly, Play-Doh, Transformers. That's us. So I was thinking about this early on when a lot of us talked, not just here, but prior to, as we were prepping this, is I was planning to show a live reel about what we've done, but it kind of goes against what live means, that I was going to show you something that's not live. So instead of doing that, I want to explain a little bit of how we think about live in general, is that we talked about this earlier, not to steal what you were going to say, Lincoln, but live has always been around us. Even if you think about 20 years ago, every day at 12, 6, and 11, it was the live news. And it happened. The Super Bowl's been 51 years. We watched it live. Nobody said, I'm busy Sunday, I'm just going to tape it, and then on Wednesday I'll watch the game. They watched it. So there's always been an event around us that's been live. I think how we look at live now is, if we're going to do live content, is it good content? Content fits into two areas. Is it entertaining, or does it provide a utility? So whether it's a rainy day in the afternoon during a weekday and the kids are home from school, we might as well give parents something to do at home. So let's just get a sculptor, find a nice room, and go live with Play-Doh and have parents and kids do something fun for an hour or two and sculpt something. And so if you have something to say for Monopoly, if people are having family game nights or anything else, just go live. I think what live does for us is it gives us permission a little bit to do things that you don't have to spend months for briefing an agency and looking at creative back and forth, and allows us to really be now, because we're in this moment with phones and everything that if you're not in the now, then you missed out. We do have the fear of missing out. We do have the fear of not telling somebody first, did you hear what happened? And you want to know that you were less than 10 minutes behind the news, not 10 hours. And so how we look at live is it good first? It's not live as a vertical. Is it a good message? Is it good content? Is it worthy right now to say it? Is there a purpose of saying it now? And sometimes when we go live, it's let's go live now. And it doesn't have the filter of it's less than or equal to. It has the filter of, is it as good enough to tell the people that appreciate what we have to say? So that's what we do over at Hasbro for live, or a lot of our brands.
My name's Lincoln Lopez, and I'm with T-Mobile US, and that includes Metro PCS. There's Metro PCS right there. I was looking for you. I'm a VP of marketing, but almost my entire focus is social media. And so even when I sign my emails, it's VP of social media. And that's been a lot of my experience. So live, even with social media, has been around for a while. Victor was bringing up a good point. Technology is probably one of the reasons that stopped social platforms from releasing live earlier. Now it's, you don't have to worry about buffering and all of that. But also social kind of change that, must see TV, must tune in. Like if you miss it at 8 p.m. on a Monday night, then you missed it. And all you get to do is hear about it around the water cooler afterwards. And feel like you missed it when people, or things that still shot live, but then released on social within a time that's still relevant. So it's kind of redefined what that is. And almost live's not really the right word, but that sense of urgency or authenticity that live brings and these capabilities is, I think, what we're all exploring now with our brands. And another great point is, it's challenging to figure out the right moments for live, given all the other things that you could be doing with your brand. And then you have to ask that question, is this better live through a live capability on a platform than it would be to pre-produce it? And that's true of many things, like live music. Live music, you have to ask, do we shoot it live and then release it, just making sure we get a good take? Or do we just go with the single take and it's live to the world, and the singer's voice unfortunately cracked during that most important moment? It's still live if you shoot it live and then release it, and it was just a good take. So I think those are the types of things you think about. And I have a reel here. I think it's self-explanatory. So There will be a Q&A, so if you see something that takes you by surprise, ask a question.
It is going to be something special. We have got some of the biggest names in the game that are going to come at you all night long just for you on Facebook Live.
Back here on the T-Mobile stage, we are live, getting so close to the start of the 2016 BBMA's DNCE. Great to see you guys.
Great to see you guys.
Snapchat, I'm taking over T-Mobile Snapchat. You know how we do this. We the best T-Mobile. We doing it big. I'm with the CEO of T-Mobile. Stay tuned alert.
This was a live interview with our CEO on a treadmill.
Happy Slow Cooker Sunday! We have a great Slow Cooker Sunday today. This week we're cooking up a Martha Stewart recipe. Slow cooker, soy, ginger, chicken.
I don't think it's that self-explanatory. So that last one, can I just talk about that last one?
Of course, go ahead.
So our CEO, John Ledger, who has a tremendous vision that turned around our company, social is a main communication platform for him. It's completely authentic. It's what he does. So for example, tune in to his Twitter handle, and he's on other platforms as well, but he does a cooking show every week called Slow Cooker Sunday. And this was a live version of it with Snoop and Martha, because we had an upcoming Super Bowl spot. The hashtag was, if you didn't see it, was unlimited dove. And you might get that, I don't know. But he, he did this live Slow Cooker Sunday. And some of them are pre-taped, but they're almost live. But that's what the last thing was.
Great, thanks guys. So, as we mentioned, live isn't brand new, and I think there is a little bit of a difference between real-time marketing and live streaming. So the question is that we'll just start off with is why live streaming? How do you decide when you're building your marketing plans that you want to incorporate it? Do you say, do you start with I want to live stream something and then figure out what you want to stream, or how does that all come together?
I'll try that one. So the UFC example I gave up there, that Solomon, who's in the audience, ran that recent program with other people from Metro. And we've done different variations, so I'll just talk about this one. We had, at the actual octagon of the fighters, real fighters who were not in the lineup, but they could be the best in their game, they just weren't in the lineup for that UFC, doing commentary live, so that means it had to be live, because they were talking about something that was happening live, and then doing reenactments, and that's why you saw them rolling around on the floor, was because UFC, the culture is, these are, the culture of those athletes is they practice at gyms and they're used to doing those types of things, so they would see certain things that were happening and then reenact it. And so to me, I don't know, as a brand, which one of the taglines for Metro is closer than ever, how we are bringing people closer than ever to UFC while they're watching it by filling in with these world-famous fighters, both commentary and actual reenactments of what's going on. It has to be live for that to be.
If I can add, I think for us, live's a dangerous word because it can mean a lot of things and all at once. When you think about live at the brand side, I think you start to lose lines at a consumer side. Because they're looking for relative, and if a brand doesn't plan 12 months ahead because I think you're going to want something on Tuesday, March 5th, it's wrong. And in a world where you're consuming things at such small little micro moment, bite-sized moments, for us to say, that's okay, our 12-month editorial calendar will cover it, is wrong. We can't be that brand that way. Because then we're saying, in March right now than in November, you're gonna like what I pre-did 6 months ago. So we have to augment it because the world is augmenting every single day. There's something happening in the world. You don't need a big tent. If you have a big tent type stuff where you can go live in like a fight or anything else, that's great because people are already aware. But when you don't, you need to be able to be agile because you as consumers, consuming media, you're just as agile. You don't see something you like on Facebook, what's the second thing you do? You close it and open up Instagram. What do you do after that? You close it and open up Snapchat. Find nothing else, you might go to Twitter. You're gonna try to find something interesting. And if you pre-plan that, you're never gonna be interesting. And that's how we look at it in terms of why live, because it allows us to really say we're in the moment now, and we don't care about the small little flaws of a microphone that just does this when somebody's talking or a little slight glare or hand movement. We just want you to know that we care about what you care about right now.
So that's an interesting point about caring and not caring about what's in the content. Do you think that it's a good thing or a bad thing? Is quality slipping, or is the bar just changing for what consumers are looking for? And how is that changing, from a marketer's perspective, how you're putting together content?
I think, I think we have to get over, and for the agency people here, they're going to hate this, but we have to get off the old Don Draper syndrome. You don't need 6 months to plan something great. You can't. If 140,000 people, my man, if 140,000 people can watch 45 minutes of two people in a lab coat put rubber bands around a watermelon, think of what creative director would say, that's brilliant, I'm gonna win a gold lion for that. If millions, 20 million, 30 million people can watch a lady walk out of Kohl's with 100 friends on Facebook, put a mask on, and start laughing uncontrollably because it was a Chewbacca mask, and what creative director or agency would come up and pitch that as this will be the greatest live video ever in the history of live videos? So we have to let go of those walls. I get it. We need stuff that are great and produced that way. But we also have to let go of the fears, because if you're going to be afraid of what's good, and creative subjective, what I like, April and Lincoln might not like. What they don't like, I might not like. We have to treat it subjectively. In a world of more than 1 billion people on Facebook, do you think you're ever going to get 1 billion people to give you a like or a share? No. If half of them said, I don't like it, and the other half said, I do like it, that's success. Ride that to the bank, because you're never going to be 100% accepted. The fear is not being accepted. The reality is nobody is ever 100% loved. Nothing. There are people that hate Game of Thrones, but that's okay. That's kind of how you have to look at it.
So April, the Honest Company is about honesty and transparency, and there's, that's very similar with live. There's no filter. So is that something that was a part of your strategy, or that you think about as you put together your live content?
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at parents, parents are our core demographic currently, and we know that they are often presented with two options. Parenting is either perfect, this perfect ideal image, or it's a mess. And oftentimes marketers aren't talking to the reality of it somewhere in between. Some days are really hard, and some days are awesome, and most of the time it's a mix. And what we see with live is it's authentic, and we get to talk to them in that way. Where we are losing, maybe it's not this perfectly produced video, the authenticity of that moment comes across, and we can really speak to that. And we use kids for a deliberate reason. It's real, and they're unscripted. I've tried. They don't follow the script. So I think we do connect at a deeper level because of that.
I want to tie together the previous question with this one, because there is something that shows both how you're in the moment and how much you care by going live. In a world where, you respond 7 months later with something that's so manufactured that the authenticity is all gone. And so an example of that, and low production values actually make it feel authentic. The live news conference, all of that, where there's noise, the audio is not exactly right. So for example, when we've released a product, a feature, what we call an uncarrier move, a big moment, because we're changing wireless for good is one of the mottos of the uncarrier, what we call ourselves. And so there's times where we release something that wasn't accepted as well as we had hoped, or there's details that weren't accepted as well as we'd hoped. So John Ledger wants to go live, and it's literally, at a certain moment, he's just going to go. And that's how internally we're managing that moment when he's about to go live, because he's thinking about the consumers and he wants to go out there and tell them something. And he goes for it as the CEO of the corporation. And so you can see that kind of like, no, I'm going to talk to our customers and our fans and our front line, which is 52,000 strong, and just send a message out to them. And it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to have everything buttoned up. But I'm the CEO. They're used to me going to live. I have to speak to them. But as marketers too, you're just like, it's like he's going live. He's going live. That moment when you're watching like, and sometimes he'll say something that was like, wait, is it 12 gigabytes or is it 10 gigabytes? And then we have to actually change our plans internally. And still to this day, I don't know sometimes if it's like, did he just decide then that it's supposed to be that other number, or did he just make a mistake with the number and now we have to be true to the number? But it's an amazing power for an industry that doesn't operate that way.
So
And that's amazing.
So how do marketers prepare for that amazing power? Like, what is it, you guys have all showed great examples and talked about great examples. What does it take, behavior and mindset, to actually put this out into the world?
It's a lot, and I hate to do the cliches about failing and risk and all that, but it is about that. And I look at it this way: for everybody here, or in general, that's kind of in this new world that people call it digital. And when you're in this new world, nobody's gotten it right. If you believe Al Gore, when he created the internet, that would have placed the internet at about 20 years old. It's not old enough to buy a beer yet. You think somebody's mastered it? Nobody has. 2007 was when Steve Jobs walked onto a stage and said, today we're going to make history, and showed the first iPhone. That's 10 years ago. Everything has happened. So we've had 200 plus years to right size and perfect the newspaper, and then 100 years or so for the TV, and then the radio, more than 100 years. People don't master the internet in 20 years. You think the guys over at MySpace thought they nailed it? No. And so what the mindset you need is that it's okay to get it wrong. And I use a baseball mentality here of, if you go up to bat 10 times and you strike out 7, but you get 3 hits, that's 300. You're in the Hall of Fame right there. I'll focus on the 7 strikeouts. I focus on the 3 hits. And because every pitch is different, you just got to learn how to hit those other pitches. And another quote I like doing, movie quotes in this case here, is Moneyball. And I tell my team this and everybody a lot, and this is the mentality, is we're the first ones running through the wall. You're going to get bloody. That's okay. And you got to be okay with that. Because if you see the wall as an obstacle and you stop and walk the other way, you're never going to get there. Because the first one through it will always get hurt. But that's okay, because everybody behind you, they're walking right in. And so that mentality, at least what we have at Hasbro, is if you're going to fail, that's okay. You celebrate that. But if you're going to go down epically. Don't trip and pretend you were jogging. If you're going to trip, scrape a knee, break an arm, do something, at least you know you did it with all your effort and you got something to talk about.
Great. Anyone else on the how and the mindset?
I'm going to try and stick to the example up there. So when we did that interview on a treadmill with DJ Khaled, there was lots of advanced preparation. There was not a script. We knew the type of information we wanted to gather. And we went into the gym at the hotel we were staying at to launch one of our carrier moves, and even had to move treadmills because the lighting was so bad in this gym, and it wasn't a sunny day. But we set everything up, and then we had people from the social media team basically asking questions to them and saying, let's do another one of those. And that's just kind of how it was done, just like a live interview. So there was preparation in advance. It wasn't just like you walk into a room and the cameras are rolling. But there was we're capturing this is going live, and the consumption of that content was massive. And partly because of the influencer and distribution platform, but also the uniqueness of the content of doing an interview while running on treadmills, and just what does that mean?
Well, and I think if you almost combine the two, the fear of failure, and if he would have fallen, that might have even gone even more viral. Like, I mean, the BBC dad, that just proves that that doesn't, you know, when things don't go perfectly, that might actually be the biggest success yet. People want to see the imperfect, they want to see the real. So.
Well, this did not go over well. I just remembered a story. When I was at Univision, saying it with an accent, there was this influencer that gave out an award, and she dropped the award, and then there was like just this awkward moment, and that was the most successful piece of content. And the TV people were not happy, but the person didn't do it to go viral. It was just that she dropped the award in front of a famous person, and then she was like trying to like act normal, and it wasn't even that big of a deal, but just that human moment of being live and making that kind of error, that's what people gravitated toward, the authenticity.
And if I can, one quick thing. The last 24 hours, everybody has seen it. I've seen it about a million times. We've seen that BBC interview of the guy live Skyping, and his kids run in, and then somebody's on her knees trying to pull the kids out. I mean, nobody would have known that interview happened if the two kids didn't come barging in, and the dad's kind of freaking out a little bit by trying to hold composure. We got to embrace the flawed. Because that's great stuff. That guy's more famous now for that video, and nobody knows what he does for a living. Think about it.
So authenticity, great. Mistakes, good for humor. Sometimes, you know, end up with many more views. But how do you balance, you know, there's some legal risks too. And you're talking about rights, and you're talking about, you know, if we said it was 20 megabytes and it was really only 10, you know, are we liable? So how do you balance, you know, the obligations and legal challenges along with
Have really good lawyers.
You don't sleep?
No, I think if nobody, unless it's different over with John, that all right, well, I'm going live, but nobody ever wakes up and says, this is the day I'm going to go live, and this is what I'm going to do. Turn a phone on and or a camera, and that's it. There is some preparation, but no matter who you work with or what you do, the preparation is the key. You can't say this, you can't do that, and it's hard because it kind of says we're going live, and I'm going to put a wall up, but it's not stick to the script. Deviate from point. We'll make a promise of your product that you can't make. You may do something like that, but it's having the right people properly trained to understand that. There's a reason why live newscasts are sometimes so, because they understand how to stick to the point of your going through point that sounds intelligent and received well, but they're not going to say, but in my opinion, things are terrible. No, nobody's going to do that. But that's where you have to get a little prep.
On April's content.
Well, that's a whole other problem, but I agree. It's all pre-production. We work with in advance, understanding where the guide rails are, and you know, we ourselves know that just talent starting here left, you know, we can pivot all in for us, all the pre-production and connecting with the legal team in advance.
Opening in definitely a good thing. Connect it. So pre and post, and how do you plan to make sure that not just
It's not a vertical strategy live. It's usually connected as an integrated plan with other things we're doing, and so you're around, and a lot of what we do is around something worthy or itself is a peak moment or a live moment happening culturally, like a live award show or something like that, or the Super Bowl. So we usually connected, so it's not, I don't think we've been, we've never made everybody have to for a live as the only thing at the center of everything, and then if they miss that, the whole plan falls apart. I think that's a pretty high-risk situation, and I think there's a very predictable thing when LeBron said you know, what he was going to go with. You know, and I do feel that Game of Thrones can use any hashtag they want, and if the fans hear that they're going to do something if you use that hashtag, they're going to do it. So there's certain kinds of newsworthiness or rabid fandom that can be out there. But it's part of an integrated plan.
No, it used to be said if you marketed it early on 30 years ago, it was easy. In, I believe, 1983, if you put your ad on MASH in the finale, you reached 40% of the US population. If you were a marketer then, you worked 6 months to do one TV ad and you hit the finale and pay your $1 million, you're good, you're done for the year. But you have no idea what people are going to say. You have no idea if people liked what you did, but didn't have the means to do. And some say that's easy because I'd run the ad and I'd capture 40% of the US. Well, what does that mean? Just 40% of the US saw it because they couldn't change channels or everything else. But now I actually think what we do now is easier. Because in the 6 or 7 months it would have taken an 83 to that spot, I could have had 50 spots, whether it's digital in 1 second, 5 seconds, 20 seconds, whether it's broadcast in 30 seconds, or whether it's everywhere else. I get different messages out that ladder up to one core message out at the same time. Which one's the top? That's where we push everything else behind, and that's where we change. It's so much easier now because you're not pinning your entire career and business on one thing. Let's go. You actually throw with a wide net. You don't need that mass scale in the beginning. You just need to know what. And that's how we get it. Of how do you get it? Why it's so easy now to do stuff in just one of the areas.
I think to go back to what Lincoln said too, ours is actually often not something that's trending or newsworthy. We use live to reveal, so we use seasonal diaper collections, edition, spring, summer, and we use live as a main component. The person we let it place events that are going to reveal events at this time. We promoted that to see the audience. And a primary component, boosted the live to create a larger audience using paid promotion. Then once it went VOD, continued to fill the top of that funnel, promoting the live to a larger audience, and then them real. So for us, one piece of a larger funnel, market how we're using live for.
There's some great examples. The new question maybe next is the how and the who. So we talked a little bit that this is not a 6-month, beautiful 30-second offer. Agency would be on. Who are how these ideas come to life? Definitely also activating in market.
Sure, I'll start. I do think that it's easier now to have a personality associated with you go uses a personality or an influencer that we have, or our CEO, who's clearly an influencer. That helps because they have a channel of people that are ready to change. That's a part of it. I do think there is a change in a lot of the model of how they deliver creative and campaigns and promotion for brands, because you have to say, like, how much thinking goes into this. It's not multiple reviews, and then you kind of need that scrappy group that be there on the iPhone. So this type of thinking as well is rethinking how you can afford to do amount on that of it you do, how you do it. Doing more things. Face a lot for MediaPost happened in the previous UFC was an iPhone on a iPod with a lights. Fantastic. But it's that kind of thing of, are we offense?
Exposed. You have can you always put your head in what people want. If we have great program for my Pony or Transformers, whether it's the movie or a TV show, and it runs Saturday mornings or weekdays or whatever the time, they're going to want something else and something more. And if you think about it on that side, that's the how, meaning right? A show runs after F30. Well, I have 6 days when the show is not running to do something. You can have agencies or anybody else say, we need to fill those 6 days, and they're not going to get it at the broadcast level. So it really isn't breaking the agency model of the creative or the agency can't do it. It's really opening it up to say it's no longer a time-stamped thing. It has to be what we're talking about, live streaming and live marketing, has to be internal live business planning. Because I can write a business plan, my team here writes it, but I can have a business plan for the next 3 or 5 years, but the reality of it is maybe one of that by the year will happen. The success is how agile are you? You guys who are consuming it are asking for. And I think that actually opens up the how, because if we don't think that way, we're going to be stuck. Everything is planned and done 8 months ahead, and then we can forget about it. You guys never make.
We produce most of ours in-house. For that same reason, we have to be doing. We're at high. Usually for itself, we were ironic and hired a production crew to do a few because there were certain characteristics of it that need to have, a pretty quality. For the story, if it's in the middle.
And just to be clear on the ironic, I mean, when you're shooting something, you have a crew of 30 people. That's what I mean by ironic. As opposed to, yeah, that's what I mean. But yeah, we also know the opposite happens, which is like just own, but we have 5 people that have worked on it and thought it through that make it look like anybody could have done it, and that's also ironic.
In terms of so talked a lot about what you're going to produce and how. How do you then decide where? So, there's Facebook Live, definitely big platform, but that's not the only one. So what one, do you pick more than one? Do you pick one, play around? For people who haven't done it before, what advice would you have?
Every platform is different. I hate to say that because it sounds like something you've probably heard 20 million times this week, if not today. What people like on Instagram is completely different what they like on Facebook, completely different what they like on YouTube or Snapchat. It's 100% different. Sometimes it might work, but it's not every time. You don't carry the same overnight bag to every you go, so you can expect to produce this content for every platform you're on. You have to know your audience. We know on any given brand, whether it's Transformers, Nerf, or Maloney, the on Facebook or yes, and we create manifold which you can slice up. If production, sometimes you say, this one we're just going to limit it to Snapchat. Our creative team, they're run around every single day with the spectacles just in case, because it might fit. And so I think it is in planning goes everywhere. First understanding, if we put this up on our Facebook page, the fans don't like that. So it's not a matter of because it has your matter of you love because and no a fan off. That's how we think about it.
Yes, same there. We also sometimes create a streaming environment that we then stream to various platforms, and it may be coming from the same cameras in a setup that's for a monumental move that we're announcing at a place like Vegas for the industry. But then we have there's someone on my team who's a product evangelist, and he might be there with an iPhone or another smartphone in 360. So some of it is the fun factor. Other ones are more practical, and that's when we try to think, how can we get as many people to view this as possible? They're how to create a production setup that allows us to multiple platforms.
Great. So before we heard it, audience questions, I give you for one piece of advice for those in the audience who are just going to start doing this, and to use Victor's terminology, biggest knee is clearly you face sitting up and being an streaming. So whoever wants to start those two things.
It's the failure bit, because you're going to sit in a room, you're going to overthink it. You're absolutely going to overthink it. You have leadership that's afraid of it. It's fine. Everybody goes through that. That's human nature. But always ask yourself when decisions aren't made and you delay it. You could either be 100% wrong or 50% right. If you wait, you'll always be 100% wrong. Sometimes you got to go with your gut. And it's hard. Trust me, and I've worked in a lot of environments where it is difficult because you have to convince a lot of people, a lot of stakeholders, and then you end up feeling like a politician rather than selling votes. But sometimes it won't be done. But you get that one little win. At that point, you pick the floodgates. Now everybody has that one little win. Everybody's going to want it. Now at that point, you have to go on the defensive. All right, everybody. See that one, you got to believe that somebody is going to believe in, and you're going to get it done, and it's going to work. And that's what happened here. We're a 90 plus company. Imagine explaining something like this. Nobody's been around for 90-something years, but we sometimes think that way. If we thought that way 10 years, it wouldn't be where we are now. And you have to embrace, and you have to rally people about it. You have believers, and you just have to get them to believe a little bit more.
I failed though. Scrape knee. And just an example of when a live streaming something just didn't go right. This is kind of like our blooper reel.
So, somebody forced me to say this yesterday. In our first live event we did, I can tell you right now, it was bad. And we did it. It was instant. We decided that morning. We put it and posted it. And I was, that night, it was a Friday night, it was like I was on Kim. People were asking for beef parade, and that we were doing. It was, but we all looked at, we have 72 hours. Let's get back up, and we haven't stumbled. You can easily say, we tried, it didn't work. Anywhere, so I don't want to. I believe that up. Say, what the hell? The companies or anything like that. We have to raise that from that. That way, so that's it. We say we failed right. Didn't even have a great environment.
I think there's something to be said of working these platforms. And being willing to be fired and love that moment where you're like, I'm going to get fired, someone's going to get fired. It's like spinning around in your head. And I've literally had people saying, like, what are you worried about? You're going to get fired? And I'm like, yeah, I guess that is the only thing I'm worried about. I was supposed to speak here years ago that ended up being very popular, and it turned out that I had the town bird speak on, so I don't take that. And this is why I was at MTV Networks. And I do think that that is the other part of all this cool tech that happens, is tech just for the sake of tech, it's like, can also be really uninteresting and really boring and really uninteresting. Better, be delivering what you do as a company to consumers that are empowered. Because sometimes there's a lot of things that I've launched, that I've seen other people launch, that no one cared about it except people internally. And I think that's the other thing to watch out for is, the simple one with live is you always have to ask that question, should this be live? Like, what's the advantage of it? Man, consumers don't even. I would not that we try people to tune album releases by like the most to this noon, and we'd mess around with the time, noon or 3 p.m., like, when are we gonna get them to do it? And they do a set for like 40 minutes, and then we look at the stream count and we're like, that's horrible. And it's like, no, all they want is to see unique performances that they can go discover and find themselves, and then it's gonna blow up. It's, again, a little like surprising, if someone like a Taylor Swift is releasing her new album live from, Los Angeles for 40 minutes, you're sometimes shocked at the lack of numbers that reaches. Versus just like, hey, I released it all online in advance, and this is an unplugged version of it. It'll probably blow up the internet. So it's that kind of you have to manage of want. What are you?
Live be pretty intimidating, and if you've never done it before, you do have to get comfortable with the idea, like, okay to fail, and for me, like, the decision to go, so you're going to do out, maybe not the biggest launch of the quarter. Maybe you don't start with something that, like, if you fail, it's going to scrape me. Just make the decision, do it, and then take some time to debrief and say, how can we make it better? How did it warm for us? For us, it was like making the decision to do it. It was the hardest part, and being okay with, like, this might not go perfect, but make the decision, do it.
Do it. Great, thanks guys. So I think we're going to turn it over to the audience for questions now.
So if you have a question for the panel, please stand behind one of these microphones. And what we'll do is we'll try to in some order. And you can tell us who you are from where brands themselves and beyond what they're doing, assessing your fact and stuff like that. How do you know what really I change? I got to do something different. Is it in the data? Is it in the feedback? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Consumers will tell you. They'll just there's like, I hate to use it, but there's like a hunting analogy where in the past, as you went hunting, traditionally, but no, deers can fire back. And that's how do we know see from obviously the metrics and the data, they all tell performance level, but when you go deep into did we hit a spot that reached them that we wanted to, I can't predict that. I can't strategize against that. That just happens. It does. You see it. For instance, when a fan or a consumer or user on one of our platforms sees something, they comment. They actually use words that we would have used in a brief. You did something. And then when you start seeing more people say that and do that without any push for them to know you hit that sweet spot. And even if one person said, you got them. Now, can you continue that? Can you learn from that? That's how we look at a lot of ways. Obviously, data and social myth, which is good for mix, but if somebody says something is as if wrote the brief, that's it. You got it.
Okay.
Just answering that, it's data and feedback, and people the top social all the time, and like you see the scale, but the biggest thing they go after is like, we did this thing, how are people receiving it? They love it, and then everybody's excited, and then it's like, how is it doing? What are how many people? But even the scale, you get a feel for scale. We have the head of the C-suite because they're looking at social to how things are being received.
Right. Thanks. First question. Our side. Sorry. Yeah, we'll go in order.
My name is Craig Tillo. I'm with WE. I have a question regarding live talent. So when we're talking about authenticity, outside of the Jessica Albas and the DJ Khaleds, I'm really curious to hear how you guys decide who is going to be your host or your talent on these lives, especially understanding that these are all major brands. Consumer facing huge reach. If not, how is that decision made and who are those folks?
For us, sometimes it's hard because our talent are animated, meaning Optimus Prime and Pinkie Pie. And it's hard to go live in animation. But I think when you use talent, I think the good rule of thumb is if somebody's watching it, will they see that talent as a paycheck? Or will they see that talent as authentic? I think there's a a great connection as you talk about DJ Khaled and Jessica Alba here. Obviously, it was her company, and we know DJ Khaled and just how great he is and so special, and that's what. But if you go outside and try to bring talent in, and the feeling comes across that people watching it will see that as that was a sponsorship, really don't believe in it, then that's as easy as a rule of thumb of go with your gut. Does it feel like they're there to be a part of it? Finding non-big celebrity talent, easy too. Now that gives you are they as good behind in front of a camera and anything else? It's easy. We just look for that authenticity of, could you see that person as somebody that walks through a Walmart, Target, Toys R Us, or going to Amazon, buying our product, telling their friend, look what I did, and I bought this. If you can see them, hear them doing that, then that gets me 75% there in terms of believing it.
I would say the other thing we do is we choose talent based on how they behave on their platforms. So we have had moments where someone will have an idea about using someone, and then we'll say something like, they don't even have an Instagram account. It seems ridiculous, but that is a part of it. And then it's going in and seeing what they're doing, if they're just promoting, or are they connecting with people in social? Are they already live streaming? I mean, we look at that. Oh, this person's already live streaming all the time, and they have a distribution channel. And so we don't try to test talent with a brand new skill. We mostly go after something that shows they're already headed there, or in the case of I guess this is kind of applicable, but we brought back Justin Bieber's Instagram account at T-Mobile, which the world was suffering for about 6 months because he turned. You're welcome. So that type of thing, we knew if we would have brought someone on Instagram where they would have had a tiny following, we would have known we wouldn't have created a giant news event. We knew we were going to create a giant news event was a big reason why we brought back one of the biggest Instagrammers ever.
Thanks, guys. Great panel.
Okay. Thank you for your insights so far. I have a question about Facebook.
Can you just tell us where you work, what your name is, please? Or no?
Certainly. Hello, everyone. My name is Jayanta, and I'm an agency creative. My question is, you've spoken a lot about Facebook Live and Snapchat as outlets for your content, and not much about Periscope or Twitter. What informs your decision to use whichever platform to go live with?
For us, it's consumer demographics, and our audience was already on Facebook. That's where our largest, most engaged audience is. So when you're deciding on resources, in particular for us, we go where they are first. And so that was really why we went to Facebook and Instagram before Twitter and Periscope.
For us, it's where's your audience, how big is the platform, and does the content work on that platform? And it's a pretty simple formula if you think about it. So Twitter is great right now as people still try to get the news. I think it's 10% of people on Twitter create the content, 90% consume it, where it's the reverse probably on the other side of YouTube. But it's really knowing, do people care about My Little Pony on Twitter? And if we did this on Twitter, would it work just as well, if not better or worse, if we did it somewhere else? And you really have to define that platform and where your audience is.
Just wondering if people do care about My Little Pony on Twitter.
Everybody cares about My Little Pony.
I do. I want to know. Same answer. The other thing for us is we do a lot on Periscope, but that's because John Ledger has built an audience and was an early adopter, and is certainly, with CEOs, very famous as a Periscoper. And so he does a lot of Periscoping, and both what we call the front line, the employees, which is a very big group of people, and the industry, and fans all follow him going live on Periscope, and now he's broadened off to other channels as well.
Next question.
Thank you. Great. Is Renee Lowe, and I have a character named Renee Lowe here on. So I have a question about, I've worked in a lot of regular videos, writing blog posts. I always, because I'm a skincare expert, before I said anything, I understand what's in it for me, meaning the consumer, right? Like, if they're going to watch me, they better get something out of it. And for me to just sit there and plug my skincare products is not, for the people who already use our products, they're going to want to know, like, oh, you have a new product, tell me about it. But generally, would you say, like, what resonates with consumers, particularly when it comes to an expert? Would you say that that's a good strategy to always how I'm the world around the video? So in my instance, I'll weave in plenty of skincare tips that are free, so even if somebody doesn't want to buy the products, they can still get value out of it and walk away learning something about their skin. But would you say that is that a good strategy to kind of say what's in it for me, and how can I have someone take 5 minutes out of their day and still walk away going, okay, that was cool, I learned something, I don't want to buy our products, but it's still helpful?
Yeah, when we were talking before, I think we said it needed to be one of 2 things, utility or entertainment. So that's exactly, we do tutorials because, yes, of course, we want to sell the makeup for your face, but we want to show you how to use it as well. That's why somebody's going to watch it, is for what you're telling them. So that's a great way to come about it. And we certainly do things for entertainment value as well. Even when we're launching the diaper prints, it's from the place of, we know you care what you can get in your bundle next month. So we always go from that approach as well.
We look at it, if you look at it super, super high first, and something I've heard a lot and I've graciously stole is, if you took your brand out of the world, would the world notice? And so now when you bring it all the way down, if you took that content out of YouTube, wherever, would YouTube users notice? And more times than not, you're going to say, no, they wouldn't, because YouTube will. But you have to ask yourself that is, how self-serving is this for you? And the hardest thing for anybody in an agency or brand to do is to look at it so objectively, because we all love our kids. And when I say our kids, it's our kids, but it's really the products we make and the advertising we make and marketing for it. We love them. But you have to look at it as, do I live it because it's my kid? But will it really make a difference in, I hate to say world because it's too big, but in the world that I need to succeed in? And then at that point, it kind of helps guide it a little bit, because if you remove it out, you'll realize if you're looking at it from a different angle, you might be talking to yourself. And that's the last place you want to be.
Nice.
Okay, question in the back.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marty Rab with Urban One. You spoke about being natural on a video, but from my understanding, about 80 to 85% of the videos are seen without the audio. So is there a strategy to have a benchmark right in the beginning, a benchmark at about 5 seconds to catch the people before they scroll? And for the people, for the 80, 85% that didn't see or didn't hear the audio, is there still value that you're able to track out of that?
I think you're absolutely right on there. I think what's interesting now of the platforms you're using, especially digital, is that if you look at your content, if you have a piece of content that's 4 or 5 minutes long, look at it as a heartbeat. A heartbeat's a couple seconds. Every couple seconds, you got to do something to make the consumer know you're still alive. That got to keep giving them something every couple of seconds. When you're producing something in a world where people scroll and people don't listen, then more likely if you could produce something that is traditional storytelling, beginning, middle, end, set up the story, opening sequence, 30 seconds long, closing credits, you're never going to get to the end. Now, if you're thinking on creative there, you have to think about, if you're doing a minute or 2 minutes, what are you doing that's that shock and awe that's just 5 seconds? Because recently, times you put out years ago, first time Mr. World, he now have an attention span less than a goldfish. So that's about 7 seconds. So now if you believe that, we do believe it, you got to get them every couple of seconds. And if you don't, you're never going to get to the 10-second mark, and there's no reason to celebrate that.
I think you're talking about specific platforms like Facebook. YouTube people are still looking for content that they expect audio to start from the beginning. But you're right, there's this this other way in which video is now being served up for discovery, like on Facebook, where you have to pay attention to what's happening without audio to either motivate them to turn on the audio or to speak more without words or some combination of both. And it's, you know, until a new platform develops or a new methodology, that's just kind of the current state. But it doesn't mean, like a part of me also says don't overthink it. Just kind of figure out what's working based on some of the metrics you talked about. But that is true. People will now see video go by without audio on a platform like Facebook.
If I can just, to your point, and your ad was interesting, where you had DJ Khaled there and you had the brand message. So even if I didn't listen to the audio, I still got something of your message and the association with DJ Khaled. Are you able to measure the non-listening, approach that you got out of that?
Are we able to measure it?
Yes.
I mean, I would say that measurement is, we're constantly measuring. And we have brand new ways of measuring with social media. But the platforms that also themselves, when you pay for a way of saying whether something succeeded or not, and there's controversy on that. This thing's controversial, I guess. But you have to set up what you think is working in a way of measuring it. And it could be, did they complete the video? Did they get, to your point earlier, did they get this far in? Did they turn on the audio? Did I get them to do that? You can come up with all sorts of things that are the measure. Did people share it? Did people comment on it? In the comments, what are people saying? You kind of come up with this engagement set of metrics that you look at, but you should be doing that to try and figure out the feedback loop's way of telling you whether something's working or not.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you guys. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but if you have more questions, I think maybe you can approach these folks afterwards. But thank you, Farah, April, Victor, Lincoln. That was terrific. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.